something smaller than the head of the pin explode and become the entire universe? How does something that has so much mass and is so fucking infinitely small, why does it explode? Like, why does it explode?
Right.
No, even saying that the Big Bang existed, I've never heard someone adequately explain, maybe I'm wrong, but adequately explain why it happened.
Right.
I don't think they know.
Well, yes, and my point is...
Do they? Does anybody know?
No.
Does anybody say they know?
Not that I know of.
I don't think they say they know.
And that's
they
what Ben
think that's
Carson
what
argues
happened.
about. And people go, he's a dumbass. Like, well, he's a neurosurgeon.
Well, the Big Bang is one of the ones that I think you got to go, well, I think they think that this happened because they have, you know, radio frequencies that they can discover and they can monitor and measure, and we know.
Well, Dawkins' explanation, I mean, how do you say there's no mysticism that maybe these cells came on the back of crystals?
What is it? What's that?
Yeah, that's what he said in the movie with Ben Stein. Well, maybe we think that maybe some of these molecules came in, you know, on the backs of foreign crystals.
Foreign crystals?
Yeah, crystals came in the Big Bang. How do we get this life? I mean, it was questioned on it, and I'm thinking, that sounds mystical to me. I think at a certain point, something is taken on faith. My point is this. What we're arguing about is Islam, Christianity, all others. We're talking pragmatically, what's the effect? What's the geopolitical effect? What are the ramifications? I think it's really easy to simplify, and you'll have people in the comments section going, well, so you believe in zombie Jesus who, you know, didn't exist?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just as easy for someone to say, so you, someone who's not you, but you in your, you know, lounge chair with a box of Cheez-Its who has no concept of science.
Demeaning these poor people.
Has no concept of science whatsoever.
Jerking off into a sock.
Believes that a bang happened and all of a sudden Joe Rogan's drinking his French press. You can simplify anything and make it sound absurd. And that's why I go back to, I think they're smart people, smarter than me on both sides, and my mind is likely to change. My mind is not likely to change in the Second Amendment. My mind is not likely to change on free speech. It's not likely to change in the fact that Muhammad was a bastard.
Well, I'm certainly with you on a lot of that. But I think that what they're talking about when they're talking about mystical occurrences during the time period of written history, which is what they're talking about when you're talking about the age of Jesus, these are like times where we do understand the parameters of actual possible things that could have happened.
Sure.
You know, like people coming back from the dead. We have no evidence ever that anybody's ever been able to come back from the dead. I mean, it doesn't seem likely that that's true.
Yeah, but that's a whole different conversation.
Well, we also know that people are full of shit.
Is there a possibility of a miracle? Which you require for the Big Bang, and I require for
I don't necessarily think I
dead.
require a miracle for the Big Bang. I think there's missing science. I think that there's first
and
of all,
there's missing evidence from the you know, a good example, right? This argument you're using right now.
Okay.
And I want to get I'm not a theologian.
What
I'm
is
not an apologist.
What argument?
But an argument that was used for a long time is kind of what you're saying. There's no proof of this. Well, for the longest time, people said because David was this huge influential historical figure, right? And they're going, well, David, up until 1993, they're going, this is a guy, this giant kingdom, right? This is the guy. There should be some historical evidence. And there's none. Until 1993, boom, more evidence than you could possibly imagine on David, his name on Marblestone. Here is David, here is his kingdom. As a historical figure, now nobody denies that he existed, and nobody denies that the lineage of the kings who were listed in the Old Testament existed when they claimed to. Now, before that, the big argument was there would be some kind of proof of King David, and there isn't.
Well,
so
the real
absence
issue
of
with
evidence
that
is not
argument,
evidence of absence.
Yeah, the real issue with that argument is anytime you're dealing with things that are 2,000 years old plus, like, good luck finding anything.
Yeah, but we did.
You know? Yeah, I mean, we find some things, but I'm saying, like, well, I'm arguing for you. I'm saying, like, saying that something doesn't exist because we haven't found evidence. Like, boy, there's not a lot of evidence from 2,000 years ago.
Right.
I mean, that is a long fucking time. And 2,000 years of erosion and water and natural disasters and all. I mean, everything gets lost.
Well, you have a great bit on that. And I actually had a bit similar that sucked, and I axed it. Because you said it better, was if I send you into the forest, how long before you send me an email?
If I send you into the woods with a hatchet, how long you can send me an email?
Sorry, I butchered it. It's a great bit. It simplifies it. And I was like, I had a bit about like going back to the witch trials and trying to explain to them, you know, germ theory and a microscope, and it just didn't work. And I heard you do that, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just getting rid of that.
Well, my bit was about dumb people outbreeding smart people. And by the way, this came out before that. What is that movie about retards?
Can't say very tired.
Idiocracy. It came out, the bit was on TV before Idiocracy. Okay, so people are, you stole a bit. No, it
Well, I
was
have a
actually
bit
before
that is
that.
almost exactly like yours on vegans and milk.
Oh,
But
interesting.
I'm not axing it because I like it.
Let's keep it going. Anything, I'm on your
I have your
I'll let
permission?
you steal my shit. It's already on
It's
TV.
not, so there's evidence of me doing it back to 08.
That's good. Well, I was doing it before that.
Were you
but
doing the
that's
vegan
okay.
bit before 8? Milk?
Yeah, it had to be formed. It took a while.
Well,
I put
yeah,
it
I have
on
like a
TV.
25-minute vegan
I
bit.
put it on TV, I think, in 2013, 14.
It was in
14.
Colorado, Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, that
High.
was. But I had ideas for that for a while. The milk part was just one part of it. The real part was about they won't shut the fuck up about being vegans.
Yeah.
But the thing about the idiocracy thing, was about the pyramids. It was about the dumb people outbreeding smart people.
Yeah.
And that, like, if
Got
one day,
electrolytes.
like, what would we do if one day no one fucked the smart people and we didn't even realize that they died off, and then one day the power just shuts off? And what do you do when the power shuts off? I don't know what you do, but I just sit around and wait. Because I figure, well, there's somebody fixing
someone's
that
gonna
shit.
fix it, yeah.
But after a while, like, we'd be wandering through the streets, like, who's fucking turning the power back? Is anybody? Do you guys know? Nothing? You hear anything? Fuck. You go
If
back
this
to your
mic goes
house
out,
and-
you're like, well, okay, there's a wire here,
yeah,
and
I mean,
it plugs in there, and that's about the extent
there's
of your knowledge.
very few people, because of the compartmentalization of our societies, very few people, if any, that understand all of it, that understand the power grid, that understand the purification of the water, that understand the government, that understand the computers, technology, the internet. There's very few people that could recreate all the things.
Yeah.
And most of us rely on a bunch of other people that are experts in order to keep this insane machine that we
Right.
call technology going. So my theory on the pyramids was that dumb people outfucked the smart people and left behind this whole thing, and then the dumb people would show up. There was no one in the pyramid. They were like, hello, supposed to get our checks on Friday, and there's nobody there. And then eventually they
I think
moved
somewhere
into the
there's some
pyramids.
ethnocentricity down there that needs to be protested.
Well, there was the thing, the burning of the Library of Alexandria. I mean, that really is kind of evidence of that. That's what really would happen. I mean, and that's the other thing that people, like, a lot of black people or African Americans want to talk about, the pyramids, and that the pyramids were built by black people. But they were built by Africans, for sure, because Egypt was Africa, and it is in Africa. But the people from the South, like, there was blacker Africans that came in and killed the Egyptians that were there, and that's why the Sphinx has an African face, has an African-looking face, as opposed to, you look at
Define African face.
wide
you white,
nostrils,
privileged.
thick lips.
Yeah, don't you love with Sean King?
Yeah.
The pictures of him as a kid, strawberry blonde. Did you see him? Like
Yes.
strawberry blonde curls? And every picture he takes, he's flaring his nostrils. He's breathing in. And like that is the most racist thing. It's like, hold on, let me get a black
Do I
looking
look
picture.
more black? I do that.
You look kind of like gorilla-y. Like a gorilla, like, sniffing
What are you
out
trying to
for
say?
the mate.
Black people look like gorillas?
No, you.
You son of a bitch. I can't believe you.
Well, that's what just happened with Quentin Tarantino. Did you see that? Where he
Have you
said these
seen-
savage think pieces people wrote about me, and they go, he said savage. He's calling black people savages. And I was
Oh.
like, that's the thing with these,
What's
Quentin Tarantino
even-
is more leftist. Same thing with Matt Damon. I just love seeing these people are progressive, and they like to separate from themselves and the social justice warrior cult. It's the monster. They've created it. They deserve to be devoured.
Well, Amy
now.
Schumer got attacked. She got attacked for some of the bits that she did on her show.
Well, she's up on stage pushing gun control with her third cousin twice removed. I think she deserves it.
Well, you do realize that she had a movie that came out, and there was a mass shooting in the movie theater where her movie was being played. I mean, that's got to
ridiculous.
fuck with your head.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, they were playing Trainwreck while some guy opened fire. Therefore, I'm directly responsible, and I'm going to remove your right to self-preservation.
I don't think
follow the logic trail.
Is she trying to remove your right? I mean,
Yes.
what is she trying to say? I don't know what
She's
she's
actually
saying.
pushing legislation with Chuck there in New York.
Chuck who?
Schumer, senator. It's
Yeah?
part of her
Oh, that is one of her cousins?
like third removed. Just when she's up on stage pushing that, I talked about that. When you have Sarah Silverman saying it's time for comedians to get with the times, and when you have Harrison Greenbaum coming on saying I'll support free speech, but I won't support hate speech, it's a very you have a lot of comedians who came out and said that what Nicole Arbor said, which is wildly offensive and fat shaming. That's the
Nicole
thing.
Arbor's the girl with the YouTube
Yeah, the
video.
fat shaming thing.
See, that YouTube video I just thought wasn't well done, and I thought when she went on The View, first of all, you're walking right into the lion's den. A bunch of chubby broads on that show,
Well,
Good
they've come
luck.
to Raven Simone now.
Well, what was really hilarious is one of their arguments was, a lot of people just get addicted to certain foods. Like, I think that's what she's saying.
Well,
I mean, one of the
yeah,
things
and you have
she's
Michelle
saying-
Collins, comedian,
Yeah.
in there. Joy Behar, comedian.
Yeah.
And and they're giving her the rules on comedy.
Well, she didn't do a good job defending herself because she tried to do shtick.
No.
About,
Hold on
like,
a second.
I'm more
No.
offended
No,
about
I'm not
my
going to do
hair.
that. Michelle Collins and Joy Behar should absolutely feel ashamed for telling her, like Joy Behar's going, but listen, you're a skinny blonde, whatever. I make my jokes because I'm fat. I first joke about myself. You have to be. So really, Joy Behar, you're a Christian conservative? Because that's who you make fun of all the time. It's a stupid, stupid idea. Now they're prescribing rules of comedy once they're offended. And I won't go down that trail at all. And I don't think Nicole Arbour's funny. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to attack you and say, I don't think you're funny, therefore you shouldn't say this. They're not going to say.
I couldn't agree more in that way. Yeah, and I think that what she did was kind of clunky. But, she's not, I don't think she's a real stand-up.
Yes, she is.
Is she?
Yeah, from Canada. She's not fantastic,
Like
but
I
she's done
said, I
stand-up.
don't think she's a real stand-up.
Now, listen. You know what, though? Think about it, though. I really believe that the
You're kind of in America. I mean,
Canada?
sort of. It's North America.
Really? Do you want to get it?
Sort of.
So I guess all those Canadians there in the shows in which you took part, they were idiots? They weren't funny? They weren't
Listen,
Canadians?
very funny guys, not stand-ups.
Yeah, but they're still
How
comedians.
about that? Well, there's a
Comedian
difference.
actually in French Canadian means actor,
I
too.
think I asked if they were stand-ups.
Oh, okay, stand-ups. Well, she did do
Dave Foley's
stand-up.
actually doing stand-up now. Well, at least he was for a while. Last time I spoke to him, he's started doing stand-up to pay the bills. He's got a horrible, horrible, horrible divorce story. Dave Foley, if you go and Google the Dave Foley divorce story, I believe it's online in a YouTube clip that Brandon made. It's fucking insane.
But my point is, let's go back. This is
Okay, go
important.
ahead. Okay.
Michelle Collins,
Yes.
Joy Behar, Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer.
Mm-hmm.
That should just have your BS meter flinging on. It should be firing so hot you're catching
About
ghosts.
this fat
No,
shaming
not
thing?
that, but when Sarah Silverman says it's not hard to get with the times, when Amy Schumer pushes for gun control.
Well, what
and
is Sarah
he's-
Silverman saying that about? About gun control?
No,
Get
she was
with
saying
the
that about
times?
comedy.
What
That when
was
she
she
was
saying
asked
about getting
about
with the times?
what is allowable and what's not, she's like, well, I defend free speech, but yeah, it's not hard to get with the times. Like, I used to say gay, and I don't think you should say that. And she's basically saying,
Like that's gay?
yeah. Now, but it's not about that's gay.
Mm-hmm.
It's about either it's all okay. Jim Norton makes a great art. People don't acknowledge how intelligent he is.
Oh, he's very intelligent.
It's
I love Jim
either
Norton.
all okay or none of it's okay.
Yeah, well, I had a whole bit about this in my last special. You probably saw like the whole thing about not being able to joke about things.
Right.
And I'm saying when I say things on stage, when I'm joking, I do not mean them. They're like
Right.
I say a bunch of crazy shit, and the reason I say that crazy shit is because it's funny.
Right.
And if it's not funny, I wouldn't say it. But there's some things that I say that are absolutely not true. And I say them just because they're funny. But there's some things that are true.
Yeah.
Like here's one. My wife is tired of fucking me. I go, but
That's
she's
true?
still it's true.
Sorry,
but
man.
she doesn't say no because if she did, I'd rape her. So that's not true. I joke around. I go, I wouldn't rape her. The worst I'd do is hold her down, titty fuck her butt cheeks. That's not true either. I wouldn't do that either. And it's like this whole series of things. It gets more and more preposterous.
Yeah.
I go, I'm joking. Do you get it? You see how it's going on here? I'm not raping anybody. She's like one of my favorite people. I wouldn't rape, and then I'd say the rest of it. But it's like the idea is,
Do you know, speaking of
stand up is not truth. It is sometimes truth.
Right.
But it is what is funny.
Well,
And
just like
I
Marilyn
assume
Manson.
that I'm fucking around.
Right. No, you can't anymore. And here's the thing. The progressive left, like Silverman's, the Schumers, the Harrison Greenbaums, the Joy
Why are you
Behars, the Michelle
apologizing?
Collins. The
Why
what?
saying sorry and then doing
Well, I'm
it?
saying sorry to these names because I know they're probably your friends. But when
Well,
they
Amy's
do that,
my friend and Sarah's my friend.
and I really enjoyed their. I mean, I was a kid when they were doing stand up.
I think Sarah's one of the best comics on the planet. I really do.
But she was a shock comic, of course. That was a big part of her act.
Yes,
And
still
now
is.
she's saying it's not hard to get with the times. So really what she's saying is you can joke about this, but don't joke about this. And it's sort of like the wealthy 1% protecting
See?
their wealth. A lot of these established comedians now say, well, what applies to you didn't apply to me. And that's something a lot of these kids now, you're going to see it migrate. The people who are the real free speech warriors, like the Sargons of Akkad, like the Karen Strawns. Maybe they're not all comedians, but they're going to be online because stand-up is not the environment that you came up in. You may be able to say what you want to say, but let me paint a picture for you.
Okay.
Because you're super wealthy and you're successful, and I'm not worthy. But I'm talking about the kid who's coming up in, I don't know, Omaha, Nebraska, or maybe even here at the Laugh Factory at open mic night, who uses...
don't do the Laugh Factory open mic night. They
Okay.
make you stay in line
I
all
can imagine.
fucking day, and then you come back a week later. It's bullshit.
The point is, that kid gets up and makes a tranny joke.
Right.
Right? Someone complains and threatens with a lawsuit.
Did you just say
Maybe the booker isn't a social justice warrior, but you think he's going to, you know what, let's just book another comic. I'm not going to take that risk. That's
Right.
what happens. And for me to see comedians supporting it, I think you're seeing this sort of a passing of the guard with stand up to a lot of these truth tellers online because they're not beholden to those rules.
Right, I see what you're saying. I don't know what Sarah meant when she said that, and I don't know what context she said it in.
That's fair.
But when you say that she's a shock comic, most of her shocking stuff was kind of self-deprecating. Like, most of her shock, I mean, she wasn't attacking people.
Well, Jesus' magic was, if you look at it, there was a lot of stuff that was designed to prod Christians, which is fine, it's funny, but Christians don't try and kill you.
Right. I see what you're saying. Well,
I haven't seen her do that with
I had a
Islam.
CD called Shiny Happy Jihad.
I saw that. Yeah, it was good.
It was a little risky.
It was a little risky,
but it wasn't
again,
risky
you
like what you did. What you did in
Thank
YouTube,
you.
that was way more risky.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, mine was just jokes about like
Well,
suicide
mine was
bombers.
jokes.
But mine jokes were like, you know, that I understand suicide bombing because I was raised Catholic. Like, and no Catholics believe in it that much.
Right.
Like, there's never going to be a Catholic suicide bomber because we just don't believe in it that much.
Well, I'm incredibly critical of Catholicism. You know, being raised in Quebec, people don't understand that in the United States. And first off, all the rights you're talking about, ironically, when you're saying you don't want a rigid religion, those rights come from people who said they came from God. It doesn't come from man. It doesn't come from law. So that is a part of our laws here.
well, it
freedom of
also
speech.
came from people that didn't have the internet. They were writing things down
No,
with
but I'm talking about where they
feathers.
come from. That was very unique. This was the first society that said, okay, these rights don't come from us, they come from God. That was why freedom of speech exists
Right.
here.
But it's also the first society to establish itself, the difference between church and state.
Yes. No, exactly. And if you read the, you know, like, for example, the separation of church and state, it doesn't exist. It's not in the Constitution. It's written taken from a private letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists, where he was talking about no establishment of a state denomination because they were afraid of a certain denomination taking over. Fast forward Quebec, where I was raised, I went to public school. I went to Catholic school. Catholicism is the provincial denomination in Quebec. The United States didn't want that, and a big portion of it is if you look in Europe and you look in Canada, where Catholicism was so overbearing, and you have these beautiful cathedrals in Montreal that are entirely empty. People reject the oppressive thumb of religion, and that's why more Christians exist in the United States, not because they're stupid and they're bumpkins, but because they didn't have the oppressive religion, so they didn't reject it as readily.
I see. So
That makes sense?
Well, yeah. So your public school was a religious school.
Yeah, it was. And I was not
Wow.
a Catholic. I got sent home quite a few times for arguing with the teachers.
What did you argue about?
Well, I bitched when I wasn't allowed to take communion because I had taken communion with my parents for a long time, and my dad was like, do you understand what this is? Yeah, I understand. He was okay, explain it to me. Okay, fine, you can take the bread from the basket, but in Catholic church, you can't do it. It's a whole ceremony. And
Why couldn't you?
because I wasn't Catholic,
'Cause
and I
you
hadn't
didn't get
officially taken
baptized.
it Catholic.
You get Catholicism. I mean, you didn't go through catechism.
Right, all that.
Okay.
And then I also had one, and this will sound really silly to the atheist audience who aren't Christians, so I'll get off it. But teacher was talking about what's a saint, kids, in my